Hello and welcome to the BTS Creative Academy podcast. This is another episode that we're streaming live across YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram as a Edinburgh Fringe preview for the midnight Cowboy Radio show. And we're here today with Ally. Oh, I'm so scared. I'm going to pronounce your surname wrong.
I want you to take a guess.
Ibach.
Close. It's Ibach, so it's like the musician if he was an Apple product.
I bet you get that all the time, don't you?
Yes, I'm ready.
I do apologise, but great to meet with you. So you're not in Edinburgh yet. Your show's going up there in a week or so.
Yeah, just a little bit. I'm currently speaking to you from my apartment in Brooklyn. I'm heading on over to Edinburgh with shows starting August 12th. So next Monday.
Wow. So how are you feeling? Are you excited at this point? Nervous?
Oh I mean, all the things. I'm excited. I'm nervous. All of that. But really, it's more positive. It's been so great to connect with you and many other people over there in Edinburgh. I just want to be there with everyone. I think the energy is always just really electric.
Have you been? You sound like you've been before.
Yes, I have. So my story is I actually went 2 years ago in 2022. I went to drama school in the UK. I went to East 15 Drama School in Essex.
Really close. It's just around the corner from me.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, neighbor. Yeah, I live in Destin. I know what's up.
Oh, wow. Yeah, literally around. I'm in Harlow. Do you know? Harlow?
Yeah, of course. No, I love shocking people with that information. So you passed that test. So I went to Edinburgh before through a program called the PBH Free Fringe, which I highly recommend. Performers out there look into. If you're attending the Fringe, go to see some free shows. People really put their heart and soul into that. I did do that, but I went so unprepared. I not even making flyers. It was really off the books. But I just went and really enjoyed the experience. And now I'm back with, of course, a venue, the Space UK, and I'm really excited to be doing it at this scale this year. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about what the setup was before then. So it was through East 15, was it, that you got to Edinburgh?
Yeah. So it's a whole story. So I'll give you the Spark Notes version. So it was with the same show. The show is called Midnight Cowboy Radio. It follows a late night conservative talk show host in Kentucky who is running a radio talk show that gives advice to local callers that call in with a problem or situation they might have. And she just kind of gives her kind of unsolicited advice on the air. All the while, she is arranging an illegal abortion, and this is in Kentucky in 2022. So this is something that I really grasped onto. I love the idea and the concept of this. So I originally made a 10-minute solo performance that was an assignment in drama school at East 15. And I took that to the PBH Free Fringe, which was lovely. It was just a little 10-minute show. So it was, definitely a different experience. And the show has remained unfortunately relevant. It's a problem that's very much going on and is absolutely on our radars as Americans as being on the election ballot this year. So over the last 2 years, I've performed the show in the UK and the US and developed it. And now it is a full-length play. It's 50 minutes long. And it definitely takes more of a journey that's kind of informed by where we're at now with all of that.
And is that why you've kept a hold of this show? Why you're bringing it back, and why you're continuing to do it? It's because it is so relevant.
Yeah, it feels relevant and important. And also in my life, I was living in the UK. I wrote it initially as an American living over there and kind of watching what was happening in my home country from afar. And it was kind of helping me through that time of the summer of 2022. That was when Roe versus Wade was overturned inevitably. And yeah, and then I moved to the US. I was never expecting to do the piece again, but opportunities kept presenting themselves of people that were looking for work that talked about reproductive rights, that spoke about these things. So I just kept doing it, and I really found a different kind of resonance for doing it now after Dobbs has been passed, and watching people see the show and leading conversations among people in the US, the UK around these issues has been really important to me. So yeah, I've hung on to it, not on purpose, just kind of through life, I suppose.
Is this a political show, or is the message kind of hidden underneath the story?
I don't even want to answer that. I think it's up to the audience. And I think it's been really exciting to get, people across different political spectrums into the show. That's actually been really amazing to me. And that's kind of what I want. I think it is a play that follows a character, and you can empathize or not with her choices. But it was really important to me that this is a real story, a real person. And maybe you might get that messaging underneath it, but what you're engaging in is an interesting journey of one night of radio. And yeah, it's kind of up to the audience to feel what they feel about it.
So in this show, are we hearing like a phone in? Are we hearing other people get involved, or is it
You
just
are.
essential?
Yeah, so it's I like to say it's not your average solo show. It does have callers that are on the air, so voiceover actors that have graciously offered their talents for this. So you do hear what the local callers are saying and how they're feeling about the moment, and problems they're experiencing. So you will hear some other people. However, there's also a difference on the characters that you don't hear in the play. That's also kind of part of the dramaturgy and how audiences experience the show. It is a live radio show, but then there's a whole nother story of what's happening off the air that you're seeing more physically in the space. Yeah.
So with this show, has there been there's been a journey where you've worked on the development of it as a piece, and you've extended it from 10 minutes to, you say, 50 minutes this show is now.
Yes.
But have you performed this prior to Edinburgh?
Yes. I performed it initially at East 15 at my drama school. That was the first time it was performed. And that was that short 10-minute sketch. I also did it at Bread and Roses pub in Clapham. They have an amazing charity event called B-Day, where they do monologues and short performances that raise money for a charity for survivors of domestic violence, which is connected to this play. So yeah, I had done it both those places, and then brought it for an Edinburgh audience. And I think it'll be really interesting now to do this version that I'm happy with, that I think tells more of the scope of this character and this time that we've been living in the US, for such an international audience. I think will be really exciting and interesting.
So would you, you've been to drama school, you're an actress, but so would you consider yourself more of an actress than a writer? I find there's something really interesting with Edinburgh, the amount of writers that are also actors. It took me a long time for me to develop that as an actor, to realize I need to kind of create some of my own work, perhaps. But you're quite fresh out of drama school, and you're going straight into that.
That's true. I none of us know what we're doing. Everyone's just out here. But I guess all I can say is that it hasn't. None of this has been on purpose. Like I just kind of fell into it. I never thought like, okay, I'm gonna do my Phoebe Waller-Bridge journey. Maybe I think that now in retrospect, but I don't think it was ever a purposeful thing. It took me a long time to even claim myself as a playwright. But I have written a play that's been up at lots of places, and I hold both of those identities. I'm not sure that there's one that I feel more inclined to. I think just this story has spoken to me in a way that I just have continued to do it. And when another story inevitably hits me, I would love to write that one as well. Yeah.
And what's it like doing a solo show, a show that's essentially you're on the stage, you're alone. There's the interaction with the characters that are pre-recorded,
Right.
but there's no one else there. What is that like?
I feel like because of my, I guess I have done more of the craft of acting first. So I think I have to trick myself. And I have written in a way where I successfully do that. I've tricked myself into thinking I'm in an ensemble play. And the way that I've done that is through having other characters, through having, actionable things, through working with a director, where I try not to think about it too much, that it is actually a solo show. Because I think when you start to think like that, you're like, oh my gosh, the show rests in my hands. Anything could happen. One story that I have about that, where that did come up, because it is true, it is one person on stage. Spoiler alert. Where I did do this show in New York, and I did have someone walk out during one of the shows, and it was a really informative experience for me, because I was the only person on stage. Like, you have to deal with it in some way. And there was this flash moment of, okay, like, how do I handle this in character? And it's just me. So sometimes when you're in a ensemble play, you can work together to fix that problem. But when it's just you just gotta keep on keeping on. So I think that did make me very aware of that position. So I think it's a balancing act. I as an actor, I really try to approach it as if it's not a solo play, and then I kind of trick myself into not feeling those feelings.
Is that something within your imagination then, when you're saying trick yourself, that you're just putting yourself in another place, that you're putting yourself within the show, and you
Yeah, because just like you would in any other project, in any other medium, I am playing a character, very much so. As people will see when they see the play, they are seeing a very distinctive woman going through a very particular, specific life experience somewhere in the world. That is not where we are in Edinburgh. So yeah, I just try to really focus on playing that character rather than Ally Ibach, experiencing the show. And it also helps that it's not about me.
Sorry, when you say it helps that it's not about you, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I'm playing a woman named Peg, who lives in Kentucky, who is a radio talk show host, who is married and holds lots of identities that I don't personally. And I think that's
this is a real character that you
yeah,
wrote. This
exactly.
isn't an autobiography. As such.
Yes, which is, I love autobiographical work for sure. But this is not that, which I think helps me, distance myself a little bit from that identity of solo show.
Yes, yeah. Going back to that thing of people walking out of a show.
Yeah.
So I had my first. I've done acting over the years, and I think back to the first time that I had some audience members walk out of a show,
Right.
and I was doing a show called Mojo by Jez Butterworth. Do you know that?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
It's quite offensive in
Yeah.
parts. The
Yep.
language is very full on, and the poster, and I think actually some of the marketing was maybe a little bit misleading,
I
and there
see.
was some older people in the audience, and it was just we talk about doing things to babies and just horrible
Yeah.
language.
No, I know. Yeah, but it's here on
But
purpose. It's a slice of life for these characters.
yes, yeah, but if the audience isn't quite prepared for it, then sometimes it can be, that environment can be just too much for them. And do you think, is it because there's a political message behind this? Do you think some people find it too hard to swallow?
I mean, I can't speak from, what, like objectively from that standpoint. I can only say that as I've crafted the piece, I've really tried to work with, like, for me, like, just talking personally, I grew up in a conservative area of the United States. And that really inspired me, is like, these are my friends and neighbors. I'm writing a play that doesn't alienate, I personally believe, conservative folks in America. It's actually more of it's showing the nuance. Like, I'm playing a character who is conservative and who is dealing with something that has happened as a result of conservative legislation. But this is a human being more than someone who is a political pundit. So I really tried to write from that perspective. However, of course, it's a very real thing that's happening in the world, and I can't control what people are walking in the room with. I can just say that my perspective. And then I think as far as what you were saying, like with Mojo, with advertising and all of that, I've tried to make it very clear of like, yeah, this show is about a conservative woman who arranges an illegal abortion. That is what it's about. And maybe that in itself has conflict. But I hope that conflict is exciting to people, because that is the nuance of where we're at in the world. Of this, anyone could fall into this situation regardless. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but I try to prepare people, and I hope that they can come with, an open mind. And I can't say why someone, walked out, but it was a experience that I felt I needed as a solo performer. I was like, okay, this is what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah, because it can be quite a moment that takes you out of the performance when you see,
Right.
normally the audience is sitting there and they're just absorbing the entertainment. But when something like that happens, it can take you out of the
Yeah.
performance. And an ensemble piece like Mojo, we can just work as a team to
Yes.
move through that. But it takes a lot of skill and a lot of determination for a solo performer to continue for a break in the reality that is theatre.
Yeah, yeah, and then it's also, it was really a tricky thing, but I'm so grateful to that person for walking out. Like, I hope they got where they need to be. I hope they had a great rest of their day.
Yeah.
It really, I'm really grateful for that experience, truly, because I had to deal with a lot of things in one instance of like, okay, like, there's that whole, like, of course, like self-consciousness of this just happened. And I'm not only acting this play, but I also wrote it.
Yeah,
And
so this is clearly something that you hold very dear.
it is, yeah, or else I would not have been doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting experience, but I feel like it just made me realize, how important this is. It does affect people, and it should, frankly. So
I think when you're acting, you give one level of vulnerability when you're up there on the stage. But I think writing is a whole nother thing. I think when you're writing, you truly are offering your inner soul.
yeah,
You're sometimes offering your deepest, darkest thoughts
yeah.
and sharing that with the world. And yeah, that could be quite scary. So how do you deal with that? How do you break that barrier? Because a lot of writers write and it never goes anywhere. Nothing ever happens. But
Mm.
yet you're going to the Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, Martin, that's great. Yeah, that I'm not sure. I think it just for me, I just care about the story a lot, and again, this is such a complex issue, and people are at the heart of it. And I really wanted to get to that space because I think, for me, this came out of a space where I, as like, just a merely like a measly citizen, was just reading news and doom scrolling and seeing a lot of divisive rhetoric, and not really seeing people behind that, not really seeing human stories. So I just wanted to get that out there. And I think you do have to like take, your self-conscious brain out of it. Like, I just felt like I had to reserve judgment and just free write some of this stuff to, as you said, just get it out there is a big piece of, like, you can have all these ideas, but it's really hard to articulate them. So I don't know. I just decided not to care at some point. And maybe that's
It's,
how I
I
got
think
here.
you touched on it with the judgment thing. I think that is huge to let go of judgment of not just the piece but of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's dealing with the ego because as performers and actors we have egos, so
Yeah.
that's why.
Incredibly big, terrible people. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like one thing to deal with. But yeah, if you can if you can put the judgment of yourself to one side for a moment, then that alone just drives the piece forward, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, I think yeah, it's a necessity. I don't think I think it'd be very, very difficult to do this with judgment. And I definitely
Mm.
still have that, but as far as getting it on the page, you have to really just shelve that feeling, I think.
So tell me a little bit more about the show and the process of the show. When you're going to the Edinburgh Fringe alone, do you have a team behind you that's coming
I
along with
I
you?
I do have a team, which I'm so grateful for. A lot of amazing people that I really developed this team when I went back to the U.S. And did this piece in New York. I have an amazing director called Patricia Runcie-Rice. She will be there with me, and it's been a huge support in this. And bless the solo performers that do everything. I really needed a very talented collaborative director as an outside eye into this piece. Writing and being in the show and marketing and all of that. For me, that was my cap. I really needed someone. So I'm very grateful for her help. I have an amazing dramaturge who did a lot of work on this piece and researching the nuances of the US, of our legislation, of radio shows, where all this stuff comes from, producer, stage manager. So yes, there are lots of people that make solo shows happen.
It's good that you've got a director. I've spoke to a few people that are going up there without a director that are doing
Yeah,
these solo shows, and for myself, I've tried to self-direct, and
yeah.
that is when I'm at my worst.
Yeah, I can't do it. I bless all of those people doing that. I
Yeah.
so support them. I will be out there at those shows, and they will be great.
Yeah, and I
But
think so. I think some people can, but I think there is the danger of not looking at the piece objectively. You're not you.
yeah,
There is. I don't know how you can take a step back and see it without this. I'm going to go back to the ego. How can
yeah,
you step back without the ego when you're
right,
performing and you've wrote the piece and and then you're adding in the direction to it? I don't see
right.
how that's possible. I'd like to see it, but I don't know.
I mean, that's yeah, some Orwellian stuff. I don't know. I mean, I think also with our backgrounds as performers as well, that's
Mhm.
something that I think allows for, like what you said earlier about vulnerability, really accessing that. And I think taking yourself out of it, having an outside eye, having a director, that's something that's so beautiful in any piece of work that you do as an actor, is having, you're allowed to do the creative stuff. The director is also being creative, but in a way where they can say, okay, let's look at the moving parts of this, and that allows you the freedom to be vulnerable. And I think I really needed that personally. Yeah,
How did you find a director for your own piece? How did that come about?
yeah. So
Because you've got to get along with them, but
that's
yet
true.
you've also got to know that they won't be shy at holding back. Because
Yeah,
you might be saying, "I know how this was supposed to be. I
well,
know I came up with this idea. So what do
that's
you know?"
true. Oh, well, thank God it worked out. Yeah. So for me, I submitted this piece for a theater festival in the US. And at that point, I did not have a director attached to it, but I knew that I needed one. So I just put a call out, and I knew specifically that I was looking for someone that I could connect with on a personal level, because this is, a personal process of writing and being in the piece. But yeah, like you said, also someone that wouldn't be afraid to collaborate with me, who also understood the importance of this piece, because I think that's what's driven me to do this piece for so long, that I really needed someone who like believes in it and who like equally cares about these issues. Because if it's not about that, then like we're just putting on a little like dog
Mhm.
and pony show, which I'm not really interested in. So I already kind of had that. I'd sat with that in, what I wanted for myself before I even started interviewing directors. And as soon as I met Patricia, now I wish she was here. But yeah, on a we had our initial meeting, and like right away, with unprompted, she just said all of the things that I would have imagined my perfect director saying or like feeling. And we really clicked in that first meeting. And sometimes you can just tell when you meet someone
Mm.
that like matches with you creatively or is on a similar wavelength, where we hadn't even worked together, and I was like, okay, you're hired. Like this is how we work together. And we've continued to do this play for about a year together, so it's been great.
Isn't it amazing when we meet people that we just click with, that we call it clicking, don't we? We describe
Yeah.
it as like we just have this. You can sometimes find someone creatively that you just have a bond and you kind of know what each other is thinking at times. Are you finding that with your director, that you
Oh,
kind of you're
yeah.
so in sync?
Yeah, and I think we need that like so much. Like, being a creative person and in this economy, it's hard. It's really, really hard. There's so many things that are stacked up against you. So if you can find people that you really mesh with in that way, I think it's just such a beautiful thing, and it's necessary. So I feel very lucky to have found that with her and with everyone else on my team.
So you mentioned there about, the economy.
Yeah.
That it's quite a hard time to be a creative. I don't know if there's ever been a good time to be a
No,
creative.
I know when you said that, I was like, okay.
Was there once a good time? Was there once an
Yeah,
easy
I'd
moment?
like to hear about it. I mean,
Yeah.
someone out there knows. Some historian is like, actually,
But it's, people are more considerate at the moment of where they're spending their money.
yeah,
Um, Theatres in general are struggling
yeah,
to survive. I run a small community theatre, and we've been quite lucky with some funding, but things like gas and electric are so expensive these
yes,
days that the venue itself struggles.
yep,
So then the companies that come into the space, they sometimes have to start putting their costs up. And
yeah,
yeah, like I say, for the normal public, they're more considerate these days of where they're going to spend their money.
yeah.
So is this something that you hope for it to become a business, that you hope for it to be something that you can live as a performer, as
Yeah,
an
I
actor,
mean,
as a
of
writer?
course, that would be incredible. Yeah, I'm like, I'm doing this for monetization, this capitalist hellscape. That's what I'm doing. Um, so, yeah. No, that would, of course,
I
be
know we love us in this position. It's like
right.
we know how ridiculous that question sounds, but
Yeah,
to anyone outside,
yeah.
they might be looking at us thinking, well, why do you do this then?
No, I literally don't know. We're all insane. No, yeah, I think you do have to be incredibly resourceful, and, you know this is just my regular advice to anyone out there is like apply for all of the grants and all of the things and all of the ways that are set up to help artists, the few and far between. Like, trying to cut costs on like very basic things like the rooming up with a friend when you need to, and all of those things really do make a difference. And it's, yeah, it's incredibly difficult, but yes, my hope is that as more people see good work happening, that they support it. Who knows if that's the case, but I hope so. That would be lovely.
Yeah. And sorry, you broke up a little bit there.
Oh,
I feel like you said something really meaningful, and I
maybe
missed
I
it for a
did. Maybe I did. I don't know.
moment.
No,
There you go. You're back now, so it's
oh,
fine.
great.
But I got the gist of it. That yeah,
Sure.
that we do have hopes and dreams that we put our efforts out there into the world, and
Yeah.
maybe something will come back. But I wonder if it's dangerous to have too high an expectation of that. If
Yeah.
that can that stop the work in any way?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I just I haven't really been using that part of my brain. Maybe I should be like, okay, what's the business of all of this? Um, yeah, so I mean, I'm sure surely it can. I mean, I think it's really hard because you have to balance your own creative vision and make sure the work that you're doing is actually good, actually worth it, actually meaningful, and sort that out first before you're like, how can I, get a Netflix show or whatever. Yeah. But then also being like very practical and business minded of getting your work out there to people. And maybe this kind of goes back to, your questions about writing and vulnerability. Like you do have to put yourself out there. Which is something that maybe that's something that I'm like dealing with, this time around of doing this show again on this scale is really, having to be like, okay, well, I am attached to it in a strong way. So you do have to put yourself out there, which can be a little bit cringy. But as artists, I guess we have to get over that.
So when you're coming away a little bit from business now, but it's still cut on topic a bit. When you're at the Fringe,
Mhm.
how are you planning on getting people to know about your show? Because there's there's a lot of shows there. I think someone said
Yes.
to me recently, 3,500
Sure.
over the whole of August. You know, that's a
Yeah.
crazy amount of shows are happening. There's a huge amount of performers, but there's also a big audience there.
Yeah.
So how do you get people to know about you?
Sure. So yeah, I do the whole thing. I mean, I will be there on the mile. I will be wearing a cowboy hat. I will make sure I'm not missed by these random festival goers. Um, you know, maybe that's something of, you know, with more resources, I would be in Edinburgh right now and going up to everyone and getting them into the show. You know, I will woo them with my sparkling personality. And, you know, just flyer and really connect with people. Right now, I'm doing a lot from where I am in New York of getting out there on social media, our
Doing
Instagram.
this.
Yeah, doing this.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, our Instagram, the Midnight Cowboy Radio Instagram, find us. We're doing lots of stuff there. Just an endless amount of emails. It's just so many emails to, you know, different organizations. I'm trying to reach out to, you know, women's health organizations specifically in Scotland, and getting them to come, and just trying to do as much like personal outreach as I can, because really, you know, I just want to get this play out to people. That's why we're doing it. So got to get people in the door, butts in seats, and I'll be doing that here, and I will surely be doing that in Edinburgh.
I guess that's the great thing where we're at with, say, technology these days, is that we can get involved with the festival before we're there in person. The
Yeah.
festival, I think it started today, didn't it? Today or yesterday?
Yeah, yeah.
Officially. So it's already moving. Shows are already going on. Crowds are already turning up. But because we have this technology, which is still fairly new, you know, we're only 20, you know, this kind of thing is only, you know, 10, 20 years old.
Right.
But yet we can still be a part of it until we can be physically there in a week or so's time.
Right. I think it's so electric and different though when you're there in person. I think I really thrive in that environment. It's also harder to scroll past a real person. You can do it.
Of course.
But
Yes.
yeah, I think those social connections are really what brings people in. Like, I know for me, I have open slots of seeing shows that I am specifically reserving to whoever woos me on the mile, because I know that there are people that are very good at it, and it will happen. I will see someone's show that I knew nothing about. I hope to. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what's crazy? As a performer and someone that loves theatre, I haven't been to the Edinburgh Fringe
What?
before.
What are
It's
you
what
doing?
I know. What have I been doing? I've been having children and a family, and
Oh, that's fine.
you know, I did that thing for a little while.
Okay.
But so it was kind of like, it just every year it's like, maybe this is the year that I'll go.
Okay. Bring
But
them.
but they're teenagers now. My daughter actually is quite upset with me that I'm not taking her.
Yeah, she'll love it. The kids will
No,
love it. Yeah.
but then it's cost, isn't it? When you're doing these things as
True.
a, you know, I do see what I'm doing here is a business, and it's something that
Yeah.
I'm growing. That it's not just I'm not just attending it for the festival for a
Right.
holiday.
Yeah.
I'm attending it because I want to grow what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and I know that Edinburgh is the place and the platform that can take it to the next
Yeah.
level. I'm sure my daughter will find her own way there with the things that she does.
Well, people watching, media producers, get this man
Yeah.
down, bro. Get him and his family there.
But yeah, it's it's kind of a business decision to
Yeah.
go to Edinburgh, but it's also a place that I've always wanted to be part of. I know it's been calling me.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel the energy having not been there.
Yeah.
So I'm quite excited to experience that.
That's so cool. No, the phone will keep ringing. I'll see you there next year. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure this won't be the last time that I'm going. Like I say, I'm already feeling the excitement and the buzz,
Yeah,
even through the connections that I've been making doing these video calls with people
yeah.
from all over the world, which is
I feel like we're
crazy.
there right now.
Exactly. We're already at this is the
Yeah, what are you
Fringe.
talking about? We're not Netflix. Yeah.
So if you was to think about your dream, like a real dream, like if you closed your eyes and you pictures yourself there right now, what does that look like?
Like, what do you mean? A dream for next week or for the
Yeah,
future or
no, a
like?
dream for next week. You're there
Yeah.
next week. The the
Okay.
perfect dream, the fantasy of the Fringe.
Okay. So I will be there performing my show. I'm speaking this into existence, manifesting, but also you guys watching, come see the show. It would be so incredible to have a sold out audience. That would be so beautiful to me, especially if they're international folks. I would really love to. I think something that's really special and amazing to me about Edinburgh specifically that makes it different from any other theater festival is just like how expansive it is. I would love to do this for a really diverse audience from all over the world, which I think exists in Edinburgh that is unlike anywhere else that I've seen theater personally. And I really would love that. Yeah.
Wonderful. What a beautiful vision.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a really wonderful conversation, Ally. I really do appreciate it.
No, thank you so much, Martin. I really, I'm so grateful that we got on. Despite time difference and everything, we made it.
We made it. We still got here. One of us got the. Do you know? It's not the first time we've got the time. I've got the time differences wrong. It's quite easy to. It's quite easy to do.
Right.
You have too many time zones in the US.
Yeah,
we
gotta stop with all that.
One.
We gotta decide.
Yeah, you got to decide. Just have one clock. It'll be so much easier for all of us. But I hope to catch up with you at the Fringe. I hope to come and see your show. I would love to catch up with you there, and offer a review of it, and maybe we'll do a little follow up with your director as well.
That would be so perfect. It's already happening. I'm looking forward to our next little chat.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Ally. Just to wrap this up, if there has been anyone watching or listening, they want to come and find you, where is the show on?
Guys. Okay, so again, my name is Ally Ibach. The show is Midnight Cowboy Radio. It's at Space at Surgeons Hall. Yeah, it's August 12th through the 17th, and it is at 10:15 at night. Okay, so we're gonna have a wild late night show for you.
Excellent, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Ally. Nice to meet you, and I look forward to seeing the show.
Yeah.
And if anyone has been watching or listening, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you for listening into this conversation.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.